Hi guys, this video will help guide indie developers through the process of building and publishing their first game. We'll share with you the lessons that we learned over the past year building Ladder and the frameworks that we're using to help us develop the game. The first thing that you need when building a game is an idea. This part of the video will guide you through building that core idea, nurturing it and growing it. My first point here though, with the idea, as soon as you get it, don't rush into starting development, right? Unlike larger studios, you have no headcount, you have low running costs, and you have time. Don't be in a rush. The idea is where you will see a lot of your value. This is your unique viewpoint. This is things that nobody else have. Developing and building a game is actually magnifying your idea. And it's sort of, let's say, like putting a multiplier on your idea. Better execution means a bigger multiplier. Worse execution means a worse multiplier. But the key thing here is, if you have a bad idea to stand on, no amount of multiplier will give you the results you want. So spend your time building a well thought out and polished idea. The question then sort of becomes, how do you develop a well thought out idea? Traditionally, the answer is a game design document, right? Industry standard, you make some document, fancy document with all the information for your game on there. As indie developers though, this can be anything that suits you, and just pick something comfortable for you and something that is easy for you to do, to be honest. It shouldn't be something difficult. For us at Nimora, Tom and I, it was a Discord server. So initially we wrote down the game idea in the server and we slowly just built out thoughts around that and developed thoughts around that. So we started developing character kits, and then Tom was working a lot on the mechanics and the features, and I was thinking about the business side of things. And slowly we just naturally built a fully fledged idea, and it was sort of our game design document. This really led us into starting building. It almost became natural at that point. It wasn't a leap of faith. We had a map, we had a plan, we had a roadmap, and we knew exactly what to do, and we knew how we were going to get there. So that's my biggest piece of advice. The next point I would make for your idea is build for a community. We achieved this because, to be honest, we weren't indie developers. We were gamers, and we were in these communities, and we were feeling the pain. We were just constantly feeling like these games are really destroying the things that we love. We loved small scale 5v5, and this was a very small element of larger games, and it was just getting destroyed by the games developers. So we said, hey, we want to build this. Like, these guys are doing a terrible job. They're harming our game. We need this. We love this. We've just got to make it. And so we took that leap to building it. In doing that, the communities we were a part of that also enjoyed that and also loved the same content we did, they're along for the ride. So that's how it worked for us. But for you guys, it's going to be more talking to friends and really feeling out other gamers, feeling out the idea, and seeing, you really want to know that you'll have a market. You want to know that they'll play it. And I think a big thing with friends, sometimes they'll say, yeah, that's a great idea, but will they actually buy the game? That is another question. And you've got to sort of make sure that those boxes are ticked. You've got to make sure you have an audience, you have a market to build for. You have someone who will play your games. Unless you want to build them for yourself, which of course totally valid too, but we're trying to make a real product and a real business out of this at the end of the day. My next point is to build fast and cheap. At the start, you're learning a lot of lessons. If you spend a lot of money on assets and different things, if these things don't quite fit into the puzzle at the end, you're really going to get burned. You're going to lose money, then you're going to lose budgets that could have been a part of your final game. When you're learning, you should aim to build stuff that just works. They don't need to be perfect at the start because you might replace them. For us, we naively thought we could just buy or basically pay someone to build us a rigged 3D model, plug it into the game, animate it. And this is a real oversimplification of what we needed to do. We didn't take into account we're building a whole game. We're not building one character, we're building a whole world. So we really had to form out the art, we had to form out the style, we had to form out the world, we had to know what we're making. And so that's a big recommendation from my side. It's just build stuff that works, build stuff cheap, build it fast, Get the feedback loop going. You will learn, you will develop, and you'll find, oh, maybe that worked from earlier. Okay, yes, it was rubbish, but now you know the systems that you really need. You know you need to use gas for abilities. You know all the multiplayer. You know what replication you need to do. And those things, to be honest, at the start, you'll really have to learn. It might take 3 to 6 months to really understand the development and really be able to push out polished code. Now, I'm not saying when you get those skills, just make stuff that works. There is an element you need to make good stuff. You need to make good quality things that are really usable, and that will be what you head to. But don't start by doing that. Start by building stuff that just works, and you can build the system, you can build the data tables, whatever you need to do for your game. You can build that, but build that after you have the skills to do it. Don't just start jamming things in because you think, or at that time you think this is what you need to do, but you don't really know it. So just take it slowly at the start and just make stuff for fun, get some feedback. So the next point that I have is to develop in public. Well, hey, I've lost that in my notes, but there you go. Developing in public is something that us indie people, we have to do. We don't have a choice, and this video is our effort to do that. Why might you want to develop in public? Well, the answer is kind of it's free organic marketing, but also it's feedback. Feedback, feedback, feedback. Feedback is king. If you're developing in public, you will get very fast feedback into if you're going down the right path. If you're making a mistake somewhere and you don't show anyone until the end, you're going to get burnt because that thing's going to be either in the final finished product or it's going to be really ingrained in your game. It could be a key part of it that people just don't want. And it's all well and great building something that you want, but again, like I mentioned earlier, you're building a product to sell. If other people don't want to buy it, then you're kind of left in a very awkward place. You've got a game that no one wants to play. That's just a bit sad, really. We really want to share the things we're building and our passion, so we should do that by building in public and getting that feedback that we need. All right. Next part is the execution. A little bit of what I said before in the idea. Remember you're learning, build stuff that works. It doesn't need to be perfect at the start. Just go, go, go. And over the first 3 to 6 months, you'll learn loads of things and you'll replace loads of things and you'll figure out, oh, actually, this is how I'm going to do it. You can't just dive straight in and building something perfect. It just doesn't work unless you already have all the skills there. In which case, congratulations, you've just skipped 3 to 6 months of your first painful part of the journey. Right, the next part we're talking about is development cycles. I think a lot of people coming into indie deving don't really, I guess, wouldn't know what I mean by development cycles. A lot of people are very new to development, and that's fine. It's just basically a method to develop. It's very easy to get carried away building feature after feature. You've got your documents, you've got your ideas, you've got all these things you want to build. It's very easy to just go and build, 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 build. But you really need to test. And that's what a development cycle is. You'll build all this stuff, and it's very easy. Okay, you go and test it, you click some buttons, it works, but really test. Test the full game, play the full game. So every time at the end of your cycle, this could be once a week or once every 2 weeks, I wouldn't go any longer than that. Play your game, play it with friends, play it on your own, play it how it's meant to be played. Just go for it and make sure everything still works. If you don't do this, you could find you develop all these features and you're left with a spaghetti monster of bugs. And this is every programmer's worst nightmare. Even seniors, like sometimes you get these nitty things like perhaps the replication box isn't ticked somewhere, or there's some variable that's mistyped and misspelled. These things take time to find, and if you just have a monster and a web of stuff, it's so difficult to look through and just get rid of each little piece. If you do this on a regular basis, you'll find it much easier and your product will be much more stable, and you can just bust it out and test it whenever you like. That will really benefit you. Which leads on to my fast feedback cycles. These sort of things kind of go together. You want to get as much feedback as you can. Links a bit to developing in public, but if you can test regularly with your friends, if you can link these development cycles and the feedback cycles together, if every week or 2 weeks you can test your game with friends, you'll be in a great position to get feedback on your development, on your processes. Are you building the right things? Are people reacting how you thought they would react? And are these features you're adding actually good and healthy to the game? You might like even find new features getting feedback and testing and all these things. Yeah, really, really super helpful. 100% do it. If you don't get feedback, you will just be developing in an isolated environment and you just won't know how people are going to react to your game. And that is, to be honest, you could get lucky, release it, do great, but it's a very hard sell when you don't have all the information of what you're actually making. Um, yeah, big recommendation there. Fast feedback cycles and sell it. There is a lot of large studios and large teams who are incentivized not to test their game because they don't want the owners and the investors to know what the buggy mess is going on. You've seen this before. There have been certain games released with all these bugs in because it's not incentives are in the wrong place. So just be aware and just make sure you're not going to be like them. You're going to build something to a high standard and you're going to get it out there and consumers are going to love what you're making. And you know that before you're releasing that. So just get yourself in that position and I can't stress how important that is. Oh, I haven't put any pretty pictures here. Okay, well, let's do that. Okay, so the final section to talk about is the tools. We'll start with what I think is one of the most important parts of your tools, and I've sort of coined the phrase, it's the thought engine. This is a really fancy way of saying your documentation. The purpose of this is to glue all the different pieces of the puzzle together. It's gonna have things like your character brief, your character, your sort of like written character concept, who the character is, how they fit into the world, what their abilities are, what their kits are. This is the, I guess you could call it like the back end to your development process. This is the notarized points and how everything fits together. It's pretty simple, but also really important to have. I think perhaps is one of the places where indies really slack. You might not need this so much if you're doing everything yourself, like the full stack yourself, because all that will be in your head. But if you're doing it with a team, if you're working with outsourcers, you really need to have this documented and have this mapped out of how everything's going to fit together. That's the first tool that you need to have, and that will really fit into the idea part of the video that we talked about. The next part we're going to think about is the game engine. There's a lot of content already out there on how you pick your game engine. I'm just going to give you a quick high level. The main points you want to think about are the platforms that you're building for, the art style that you're going to be using, because game engines tend to fit with a certain style and feel, and once you get into it, you can recognize those. And then the other part you're going to look at is cost, development cost, and licensing costs. These are two big things as an indie. Cost may not be money, it may be time. It could be something like, well, Unreal and Unity have a lot of tools and features to help you develop quicker. Whereas something like Python, if you're going to do everything from scratch and pretty much from zero, if you're going to build your whole game engine, this is going to take a lot more time. And that in itself has a cost. That cost may be different for you. Use your own advantages. If you really enjoy building a game engine, go and build a game engine, and maybe your game on top of that is just a small part of the puzzle. But use your strengths there as well. Really consider what you're good at and the tools that you have to your disposal. Yeah. So the next part we're going to look at is the artwork. So artwork is a massive thing. I had no idea what I was getting into at the start of this, and I don't think Tom had any idea either. We really, I tell you what, that's where we made some mistakes. So we ended up commissioning pieces of art before we even really understood what the style of the game would be, and we spent quite a lot of money on a rigged model that we still have, but is borderline useless because we didn't really understand the scope of what we were building. So we missed the thought engine part there for the artwork. Really recommend that. Get your styling down, really understand the art that you need and what you're building. And then a part of the artwork tool is the skills. Like I said, we didn't have them, so we were speaking to people within Discord, within forums, within things like ArtStation, really connecting to artists, and we got super lucky and we found a real great senior artist who now works with us as our art director, and he's fantastic. He's really shapes the vision creatively of the game, and you need to do this as well. Again, depends what your scope is, depends what your game is, but really use these tools, find the right people, and connect with other people. Great games are made with great people, and they're not built by one guy on his own in the bedroom. Some are, don't get me wrong, but the more people and more great people you surround yourself with, the better your product will be. So we've got the art side of the tools and the skills you need to get there. You also have a bit to think about within actually getting your art into the game. So what are the pieces of the puzzle there? And I'll quickly go over that. You've got the concept, which again, this sort of comes down to idea of the vision of whatever you're making. Then you'll break it into the actual modeling. So this is a bit simpler for the environment. You just build something out, make sure it fits your style, make sure it fits the document, make sure it fits into your thought engine, and make sure you have a good brief to make sure to get it in there. And then once you've got your model, if it's a character, you'll need to rig it. You might need some support. You might need to learn how to be a technical artist there. You need to rig it and you need to get it into your engine. And then you need to animate it, or if you're going to animate it in a third-party tool, animate it and get those animations into your engine and put all the pieces together to have a character, and you have controls and everything else that you have to learn there to get your character working. So at a high level though, it will be get the thoughts figured out, get the concept done, get the model built, and then figure out the technical aspects of getting it into your game and into your game engine, and then Bob's your uncle. It's there, voila. Okay, I think that's almost everything. I think I didn't write it down here, but the last point as well is marketing, something we haven't spoken too much about yet. It's a massive box in its own. I think we're really beginning to figure it out ourselves. So, marketing tools, what do I mean there? It could be things such as managing your social media accounts. There are loads of tools for that, but it's also the social media accounts themselves. You really need to be developing in public, and a bit of this video is us doing that and us putting our stuff out there, putting what we're doing out there. So really consider all the different platforms you can use and how you're going to use them. I think over time, there's a few phases. For us, we went to the point of just make everything, stick everything out there, see what works for us. And now we're trying to slowly find where our position is in there. What social media do we really want to focus on? What works for us? And we're not a massive studio company. We can't run all these pieces of social media. It just takes too much time. We have a whole game to build as well. But we do have to put the reps in there. We do have to do our best and find things that work. And again, this YouTube video is a part of that. So look at marketing tools as well and how you're going to build out your marketing stack. These are all the important parts of the puzzle, and hopefully that will give you everything you need to develop a game. Um, yeah. Well, hey, end of the video. That's my first video, so thanks everyone for watching. And I guess we should do the usual YouTube plug of like and subscribe. So yeah, go do those things, please. Thank you. And sort of upcoming videos, I'd love to hear what other people think. I'm considering looking at the funding roadmap, perhaps vlogs, looking at what we do, looking at the behind the scenes. That's another thing we could take a peek at. And maybe there are pieces here that you want more detail and more information about. Maybe there are parts of the puzzle on the art side or the dev side that you'd love to discuss more. I think just let us know and we can make that happen. All right, guys. Thank you. Bye bye.